Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think I'm a firm believer that like everything we need on our journey to take the next step or do what we're meant to be doing is here and now in the moment. You know what I'm saying? And so it's funny because like, I was doing the YouTube video and the theme of it kind of came to me like as clear as day, when you're in the twilight of like waking up and you're in bed. So I had the thought come to me then, and it was basically the idea of like you have to embody that which you desire, and that's like a high spiritual lesson. And for me, since I use the tarot, the the subject line of the video ended up becoming embodying the King of Pentacles, because in the tarot, the King of Pentacles um, represents abundance and financial wealth and health and well-being, and having the means and everything's paid for and taken care of. But this, from the spiritual approach, that has to be reverse engineered by embodying it, by tuning into it first and foremost, because in the quantum spiritual magnetic, you know like attracts like. So, if my polarity is that which is negative, but I'm embodying something that is meant to have and have the means of and being taken care of, then by universal law, I have to attract that which is going to put me in that position, because I'm already embodying it and I'm tuning into it. You know what I'm saying? So by universal law, that has to be my nature. But the trick is that you have to kind of defrag, deprogram yourself from that fear mentality. And that's where a lot of people get caught up, is they think that their wealth is just limited to what's in their bank account. And then on the negative extreme, they end up jumping off a bridge or something, because then they attribute their own personal value and worth to that. So if like the next Norman Lear jumps off a bridge at the age of 35 because he thinks that he's only what the Matrix has told him, which is this valueless single loser, then then what? Then he is victim to this system that is purposely devaluing. The system is a capitalistic system that is meant to devalue the individual, because it runs off of feeding you a lie that you need to purchase that thing outside of yourself. And so every way that you turn and look, you could see, even with like dating and romance and relationships and the birth rate plummeting and all this and that, they're saying you need this relationship, you need this counterpart, you need this XYZ. And I'm saying, no, embody it first and foremost. And when you embody it, then you could go about your day doing whatever it is that you do best and what you're really meant to do. You know what I'm saying? So embodying this spirituality, it doesn't mean that I don't get up and do the legwork of deliveries, or I don't get up and do the legwork of logging on to tarot and money means. It means that I'm moving more so with in rhythm, in unison, in sync with the spirit behind it, and I could be more productive and a better version of myself by doing so. And I think that when we all do that, it's not just about the individual becoming rich or stumbling upon something lucrative. It's about all of us doing that collectively, so that we change this system. You know what I'm saying? So that we all kind of collectively realize, we've been duped and we're being duped, and we don't have to settle for this, you know? So, you know, to me, that just feels like, all the road in the world, to keep going, and to keep on like doing what I do at a high level. And, um, so I'm at the benefit of that. And if I could be like a Harriet Tubman and try to like tell you guys about that, then, you know, I'm better served doing that, even if it's lip service, which I don't think it is. But I'm better served doing that than, you know, falling to what the system wants. The system wants me to like kill myself, be depressed, hurt others, be angry, be mad. That's what the quote unquote system wants you to do. Well, because you're seeing it from the perspective of somebody who's already made passages of you're married, you have children, you have a house. But I'm talking about my whole generation. And it's definitely deteriorated since um, since your generation. You know what I'm saying? But that's why I'm saying that's why it's like a quick slip is the spiritual aspect, so you can see the game that's being run on you, the game of lack. It's purposefully constructed. There's no coincidence that the banks go bankrupt and the government bails them out, or 9/11 happens, or another war happens, or an election is stolen. Or so we have to. It's imperative that you keep in mind it's not all in your head. This is a thing that's being puppet stringed along and pulled and what have you. So that's the dark side of your mentality of, oh, at the end of the day, my bank account, da 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 da, because you're only seeing it from this very short sighted view. You know what I'm saying? And I'm telling you, the choice is integrating the understanding, the higher understanding. You know what I'm saying? No, it's not. It's not. It's not. For you, it's easy. For you, it's easy because it's a mindset, because it's a opening, and it's a mindset, and it's an understanding of um, everything that we're talking about. You know what I'm saying? No, it's easy for you to embrace it. But you could still. And I'm saying that it does pay your bills because it allows you to think laterally and see things in a different way and find bigger, better solutions. It's true. I mean, mom, look at how do these creative types, if they're thinking, looking at the world through a pinhole, they're not going to be able to get their head out of the sand and do what they're meant to do. So obviously, there's a force moving them to, do something. And so it's like, you know, that's what gets these big things done. You know, perfect. You get what I'm saying? That's good. That's all. You do, and you are. You just got to know it. You know. You have already. Remember, it's the principle of embodiment. It's not the taking the power back. All of that stuff is embodying it. It's I've already done that. And it sounds like voodoo word salad, but I'm telling you, there is this energetic quantum principle behind it that like moves mountains. You know what I'm saying? It's like the Buddha said that all suffering comes from desire. So once you hijack that and you embody it, then you come back to where you're most empowered, which is the present moment. And then that's where you're on this wonderful journey, this unfolding journey, where it's exciting, it's awesome because everything you need is in this moment. You know what I'm saying? So I think a lot of it is, it really is, and this is I could speak to from firsthand experience. Like yesterday, all at the beginning of the day, I was in my mind in the kind of matrix of thinking about time and money and all that stuff. And then later on, I don't know if it was because like day turned to night, the sun went down, but I was just in this completely different mood where I was just in this like just better creative mood and spirit. But I noticed that I was just a completely different 180 from where my mentality was. And so it's like having experienced that firsthand, I could now condition and train myself to get there faster, you know. And I think that that's a lot of part of it is to get there faster. And what I mean by there is that kind of creative, you know, in the groove, in the mix feeling, and I think that that's where all the good stuff comes from in that moment. Yeah, but that's a it's a good question to be at, because that means that you're in the place where you need to be, because that is like one of the most important questions to begin taking the steps on that yellow brick road of like, oh wait, that if I'm asking that, it means that a part of me believes that there's a way for me to reprogram myself or uncondition myself from this bottoming out feeling where I'm feeling like I'm falling out of myself. Yeah, I liken it to like where someone tries to pull the rug out or like the floor from out under you, but it's like you realize like, oh, I can fly. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm Peter Pan, I can fly. So it's like, but I think that that's really kind of what the mentality is like where you're defragging and you're deprogramming that, heart stopping, like drop a bomb on me moment, because you realize that I can fly, I'm bomb proof, I'm bulletproof in that energetic spiritual realm. And I think it's something that we just train and condition ourselves with. But like where you're at, you have to be on that path first and foremost. I think that that's one of the biggest parts is realizing that it is a thing and you could actually do it by reconditioning your thinking and your feeling and yeah, your thinking and your feeling, you know, because it's very, you could make it more simple by just boiling it down to those two components. There's the thinking part of it, and then there's the feeling part of it. It's like you're either going to get to that state of being, whether it's good or negative, through the mind or through the feeling, because one feeds into the other. Remember, you know what I'm saying? Like I could start with a good thought, and then that leads me to good feelings, or I could start with a good feeling and then that leads me to a good thought, and then they're just going to keep on feeding each other. Because like we've been saying this whole time, the human mechanism is like a battery. It has a negative polarity and a positive polarity, and those two feed into each other. It's like a track, like a racetrack. It just keeps on feeding into itself. So the good news is that if it's as simple as those two components, then it means that we always have those two doors to go through. And maybe emotionally, I'm exhausted and I can't go through the emotional door, but then let me go to the thinking door. Or maybe thinking wise, I'm at my wits end. Let me go to the emotional door. And I think that that's what we're doing when we say, let me put myself in a state of gratitude. Let me feel it. And then when I start to feel it, then I can start to see it, or vice versa, you know. And yeah, that's what I'm saying about like the whole embodying, you know, um, that thing that is most valuable. Muji calls it the universal gem. It's the realization that you are that most valuable thing that can do all things. And it's very true because it's like all of that creative water flows from the mouth of the individual. It flows from the heart, the soul of the individual. And that's worth more than anything. I mean, you stand next to like a $200,000 Lamborghini and it's like, what's worth more? Well, the person is worth more because a person can do, all things that it can do. It's autonomous, it's creative, it's this living thing. Whereas like this hunk of junk, like that's not gonna give you the means of being able to keep yourself warm or feed yourself or whatever. So it's like we really are in the midst of this whole defunct evaluation system where it's like this system is trying to make you a commodity that doesn't have any value. And I think that what happens is that over generations we internalize that to we don't have value, and then we start treating people like things, and then you have this kind of just hell on earth. So me, I'm thinking like the opposite. I'm thinking that like the smallest, most meek and meager movement. And I think that a lot of people think that are into like Christ consciousness and spirituality and Buddhism and all that stuff say the opposite. We say no, we can change everything by living that way, by reprioritizing our values. And you know over generations, if you can embody that and be the living example, then you could really have an effect on humanity. So it's almost as if like it's this matrix versus humanity. You know, it's this system of lack versus humanity. You know, and it's like once we just really ingrain that into ourselves, then we're not going to allow ourselves to be pulled like puppets on a puppet string. We're not going to allow ourselves to be manipulated by brass tacks or all of this other nonsense. you know so whether you know it or not, you're in that same humanitarian you know um, paradox. you know yeah Well, I mean, I think like I gotta think that it can be perfect and that it is perfect, you know. And I think that it is about like slipping and dodging and ducking, the matrix. That thing that says, we don't have enough or there's not enough or like because God happens, the great mover happens, that great thing that woke me up happens, that great thing that allowed me to get past this past 12 months happened, that great thing that allowed myself to not implode in depression, that great thing that has made all of this possible. Mom, look it. I'll give you this simple thing. I'll give you this simple thing. I'll give you this simple thing of look it. There's a spectrum of reality, right? And we have six senses. We only see the six senses of the spectrum, which is a very minuscule aspect of reality. So there's more that which exists than we could sense. So am I going to bet on me? Am I going to bet on my little world of six senses? Or am I going to bet on that whole ocean of quantum possibility where I win and I get out of this and something great happens in my favor? I'm going to push all my chips on that because at least it's a chance. At least it's a something. What am I going to put my betting chip on the worry tab for? Okay, so then do you have power, yes or no? Okay, you have power. So, okay, what do we know about everything that we're saying, right? We're saying that worry is a default setting. It's a default setting for you. For the TV set that is Norma, you know, apropos fitting metaphor for you grew up in the 70s and you guys didn't have a lot of TV stations. But you're tuned into channel 3, the station of worry, concern, and fear. All you have to do is know that there's a better station, a higher power, a higher version to tune into. And I'm saying that it's easy for you to change the channel because it requires you to let go of that worrying and just pick the highest common denominator. Right now you're picking the lower common denominator, which is worry. So then what's the 180? What's the mirror of worry? Trust, letting go, faith, knowing that it's already yours, embodying it already. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I feel like I'm like holding your hand and we're both jumping off the cliff into the water. It's like if I could feel it, then surely you could feel it. You know what I'm saying? Like it's literally embodying. Um, it's already done. It's already taken care of. Well, um, I don't know. Just for me, my thing is just like embodying it and just tuning into the highest, best version of it all playing out. Because I think what happens is like the system tries to make you feel and think that it's like your fault or your problem or it's all your fault, and it's like it's you that is the reason why. You know what I'm saying? It's like that's not true either. And then guess what that is? That's an opportunity for embodying. I am the other people. No, no, no. I said that's an opportunity for embodying so that you could be like, I am the other people. I am those people. I guess what I'm basically saying is that like, you know, like we are the other side of the rainbow. You know what I'm saying? Like in so many words, in so many ways, I'm trying to say that is like we are that we are that which we desire. We are that pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. You know what I'm saying? Like, and my thing is that like once you start to live that, when you embody it, to keep on beating that word in, driving that word in, is that then you begin to create and see it in your world, in your life. You know what I'm saying? Like that's how it works. You know. But think about it. Think about like World War II Germany, where like their francs didn't mean anything. It was just tinder for fire in the fireplace. Like at a certain level, no, the U.S. dollar doesn't make the world go round, and that's another part of the deprogramming. Is we're so married to thinking that money is the solution and the answer as well, and it's like, you know, I'm even at that precipice too, where it's like, think about it. What's all the money in the world for the worth of your soul? You know, like, so we know that it's not the end all be all. Yeah. Well, I keep on thinking about the image of Taylor Swift that recently came out, where she's standing on a black cube, and in all of this kind of secret occult stuff slash spirituality, the black cube that she's standing on represents Saturn, Satan, money, time. One of her recent tours, she was standing on a black cube. It's called, and it's in the esoteric and like the behind the scenes, like secret society government that runs the world. That represents the black cube of Saturn. That's the same cube that they worship in Mecca, and that's the same cube, the hexagon that's on the North Pole of Saturn. And so the six sided cube is that's basically the matrix. That's the time and money shortage that we're all being purposefully, you know, led to believe that we're in right now. You know, um, because she represents from the occult. She represents the the where the few 1% have all the resources and all the means and all the money, and so anyone who's in that position, they're placed there, um, from the powers that be, from the royal families that run the world and pull the strings and all that. Um, so, and I can tell you that the symbolism behind and I think we spoke to this once before, where it's found in the three major religions that are like purposefully meant to kind of co-opt, the people of the world. So, like in Christianity, the six sides are the panels of the cross. You have the left and the right panel, and then you have the four down the middle, top, middle, and then the two bottom ones. And if you roll that up, you can make a box or a cube. It's like you're folding all the sides to the cardboard box, and you make a cube. And then the same thing with the Judas or the Jewish star. In the middle is the six-sided hexagram. And in 2 dimensions, it's a hexagram, but in 3 dimensions, it's imagining you're looking at a cube from the corner, and you'll see six sides, and you can put that cube perfectly into the middle of the Jewish star. And it's six sides. And then in Islam, it's the cube itself, that which they walk around in Mecca. And so the cube represents Saturn, aka Satan, aka time, which is, remember we talked about the number 6 around the 12 dial clock, where you subtract all the positions and you always end up with 6. And that's the number of, carbon, which is the elemental makeup of our flesh, which is what the spiritualists believe that is the beast, which is we're imprisoned, quote unquote, into the animal being. And so our journey is literally that of deferring to the spirit, which is what I'm telling them about. When I say embody, you're embodying the spirit of, some call it being filled with the Holy Spirit, being filled with, you ever just get overcome with those feelings of like you really feel like the Holy Spirit or something. Like you really just feel like, oh my God, my cup runneth over, And it's like that's what that is. Well, you do that by, in the Bible they say, Jesus says, cast your net on the right side of the boat. And the right side of the boat means you're right minded, you're the right hemisphere of your brain, which is the creative hemisphere, where God is, because God is the creator. And so man is made in the image of God, because man is the creator as well. We are creators. And that's why they say the kingdom of heaven is within, because the human body is that vessel, the temple for something like God or the Holy Spirit, or things like that. And the left side of the brain is the analytical, the brass tacks, and that's where they manipulate you. That's where they get into your mind like a virus, because we've all been conditioned to be left hemisphere thinkers. That's why they made it illegal to be left-handed in a lot of these like ancient countries and religions, because the left hand connects to the right hemisphere of the brain. And if you're using your left hand, then you're more apt to be creative right hemisphere minded. And so that's why the majority of the population is right-handed, is because we're being purposely conditioned to connect to the left hemisphere. It's like a cross section, right? The right hand connects to the left hemisphere, the left So it's like, so when I say, yeah, I know, I remember you saying that. You told us that. And but so when I'm looking at this, I am looking at it from a bird's eye perspective, like an eagle's eye perspective, because I see that this is a generational thing that we're born into. It's not just Norma and her bills and she can't get it together or Peter can't get it together. It's like, no, there's this bigger thing. And so when I think of that, I think of, well, then my purpose must be to take the spiritual approach to be able to see and free myself and then allow others to see and free themselves and to know that there's bigger and better than just this lack or this scarcity you know and so there's something there because it's like that's the very same cause that Jesus Christ himself was about. He was about going to the east and learning all those traditions and learning how to awaken those spiritual centers in your mind so that you could come back and tell the Pharisees and tell the high priests and tell the Romans. And guess what? They killed him for that. So I'm doing the same thing. We are doing the same thing when we talk about this spiritual naturedness. It's like it's not different. I think we think of history in this time capsule that doesn't touch us or affect us, but it's like we are literally fighting that same thing, you know? And so, but it's like, I also think that it's to the point of like the Buddha and stuff, it's already a won battle. We've already won because the powers that be need to exert so much energy, so much effort to try to keep the show going. One catastrophe, one war after another. I mean, there's no reason why, everything's seemingly gone quiet this holiday season, as far as like the news cycle. It's like, I think that's done purposely too. It's like this kind of trauma effect where it's like, you know, you're throwing so many big, loud noises and explosions at someone or at the populace, and then you leave them bare naked quiet unto themselves, and it's almost as if they're at that time that's when they go crazy because they're so used to there being all this commotion and all this whatever. And so I think that's being done on purpose to where it's like now things are being like extra quiet and like there's not these crazy you know news cycles you know yeah. So to the point of like when you're embodying it, you're embodying that higher spirit. Right now, when you are worrying, when you are concerned, when you are fearful, you're literally being possessed by those low vibrational spirits. Those are remember we said these things exist outside of ourselves, and we tune into them. So those states of being, you tune into in your body. So, you know, it's so funny because I remember like you always used to be like, "Oh, bless yourself," da 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 da, and it's like in a roundabout way, like yeah, that's true. Like, and so when you think of it in this practical way, try to think of when you're worrying or fearful or concerned. Think about it as you're embodying those low vibrational energies, and instead say to yourself, "No, I want to embody the higher vibrational energy because that's actually where I'm, potent and powerful as a creator." You know, so yeah, it's true. Yeah, and that's why I like the metaphor of like think of it as like a spirit that's that you as an individual are unknowingly or unconsciously like default embodying. And it's like once we have that awareness, then we can pick and choose, what we need out of the realm of the quantum realm of possibility. It's like if someone is like walking down the street and they lack confidence. Well, guess what? If they have that level of awareness to know that, hey, look, life is a buffet, they could choose and pick and embody confidence. And then they could say when that thought comes up, they could be like, I've already dealt with that. I've already picked my choice. And I choose to be confident. I choose to, and with the bills, I do the same thing. Like it's already done and paid and taken care of. And it's not up to me to find the nitty gritty detail or figure out the nitty gritty detail. That's the universe's job. You know what I'm saying? But I put that energy out there, and then opportunities come in return. I was talking to a recruiter the other day, and I think that it's like a firm result of me like being in that one of those good moods, one of those good states this past weekend where I was like watching wrestling and I was feeling good. And they do like a sports stream from, so basically there's this website where it kind of, you get to watch the wrestling for free because you're basically on a website that hacks the stream, and as opposed to paying for cable that gives you the channel or whatever. But the funny thing is that this stream that I got into from this website was a British broadcast. So I was tuning into British commercials and all their version of what we would normally see in America. And it was something about, I guess, just seeing it with like a fresh new lens and like, the British accent. I think the American sees it as like high class or like whatever. But the air of the commercials were just like everything's okay and provided for, and you know and it triggered this feeling of like, oh, I want that. I want that, like $60,000 a year job that makes me feel comfortable and provided for or whatever. But it was like it made me want to start to open up, the job application apps where you start to apply and whatever. And for a moment there, I was like so beaten down by that and not getting any positive results. But that one turn ended up, having a recruiter reach out to me, this lady Elaine, and she actually presented me with the offer from El Segundo, but it's too far away. But I'm so glad that I ran into her because now I'm in her client pool, and she works specifically with law firms or whatever. And she knows that I don't necessarily have law firm entry experience like the software, but she will, keep me in her wheelhouse just in case she comes across opportunities that where, like for instance, the one in El Segundo, which is like half an hour away, but like on a busy traffic day, it's like an hour away. So I'm like, I don't want to do that. So, but that opportunity didn't require someone to know as much like billing software, legal billing software. So she's just going to look for opportunities that are the same but are closer to me. But like something like that is like that positive momentum spur of the moment where it's like something, yeah. Well, it's like a sailor. I just picture like a captain on a ship, and it's like a beautiful day in the middle of the ocean, and something, his senses kick in. He's like, I should open up my sails now because I think a wind's coming. And like, he does that and he catches it. Yeah, but it's like, it's not because he's using his analytical left sided brain. He's using in that moment that intuitive, creative side. And what I'm saying to you is that if we're too much in the the almost garish or gross, overwhelming left side, which is worry, concern, da 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 da. We can't be in that state of openness, receptivity, intuition, creativity, to where we could read the subtle nuances and then, you know, work and act in that moment to cast our sails and be carried away by that very spirit, you know. So I like to think that every day has like a magic moment, but or a miracle. But if we're too in our worry and mind, then we miss it. You know what I'm saying? Like every day has this miracle breakthrough moment, but we just have to be in alignment with it and be moved by it, you know. Because it's like I was listening to like Joe Rogan. He had a recent podcast, and he was saying how he was killing time waiting for a bus with his friend. This is way back when he was very young in Boston. He grew up, and he went into this martial arts gym, and at just like random, just to kill time or whatever while he's waiting for the bus. And as he's walking up the steps, it's like those little strip malls, those mini malls, and they have this second level. And he's walking into this building up to the second step, and he hears this person kicking this heavy bag, and he hears the chain, you know, clang, and he's hearing the just the hard hitting of the heavy bag, this 100-pound heavy bag. And he goes in and he turns the corner. And he's like, "Who the hell? Like, what the hell is this?" And he sees this guy just kicking this back turning spin kick the hell out of this huge heavy bag. And that guy ends up being this famous kickboxer who's at the top of his game, preparing for this world class tournament that he ends up winning. And so, if it weren't for that fateful moment, that fateful day, then that wouldn't have put Joe on his path. And that guy ended up teaching Joe. And so that's how Joe gets into martial arts. And basically we know Joe Rogan for, you know, that whole journey of how he gets into martial arts, you know, taekwondo, kickboxing, then eventually mixed martial arts, commentating. No, not that I know of. I'm talking about his origin story, where it's like that fateful day, where it's like if he doesn't go up there, then if he doesn't follow his inclination to, hey, let me check this out for whatever reason, then that doesn't send him on this whole life path. Because from there, he gets into kickboxing. From kickboxing, he gets onto a traveling kickboxing team to where he becomes the comedian on the bus because 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 as he tells it, it was like gallows humor. Like they're all going into this kickboxing tournament and they're all scared shitless. And he ends up being the one that turns into like the comedian trying to make light of the situation. And so that's how he gets into comedy. And so that becomes his path of mixed martial arts plus comedy, moving out to LA, getting a TV show, getting Fear Factor, to becoming the MMA commentator. And then now he's this billionaire. Yeah. So that's his like, you know, that's the tale of his whole freaking epic thing. And to your point of like Norman Lear and all, like, you know, I think it's like Carl's, I don't know who says, I don't know if it's like Carl Jung says like life doesn't begin until 40 or something like that. But it's like, you know, to that point of like at any moment, and guess where that moment is? It's here now. And so that's what I'm saying to underscore what I said earlier about it's all here now. We just have to see it as treasures to be, you know, uncovered, and, you know, rocks to be overturned with, you know, these treasures, you know, under them or whatever. Those moments, those opportunities, you know. And it's like tuning into that and knowing like, but I think what happens is we're creatures of habit as far as thought and action. And so we think that everything has been overturned and seen and we know, but that feeling of, oh, I already know what to expect, little do we know, that's the creative part. And so we end up just creating the same thing because we end up falling into a default, I think. You know what I'm saying? As far as I think like a survival mechanism. And so what we think is the same old is really, our creative faculties creating the same old. You know what I'm saying? And so it's like our job to become aware and not take that for granted and being like, no, I could, you know, create or manifest or tune into something new at any given moment, here and now, And that's what all like the Buddhas and the spiritualists say. It's all here and now, all that magic, you know. So yeah, I know I'm preaching to the choir, but it helps just kind of like talking out loud and saying it and stuff. Yeah, I've been making pad thai lately. Uh, like, uh, it's like Asian food, like noodles, like pad thai. Um, I was yes, I've been getting into like trying to cook new things lately. I had a hankering for some like broccoli beef, so I bought some ground. I use ground beef instead of like just because it's cheaper, but you still get the same like flavors. So I bought like, you know, two big heads of broccoli and beef, and then I Googled and I looked up like what to use for flavoring. They use toasted sesame oil, soy sauce, oyster sauce, ginger, sriracha. I used all those flavors and I made some broccoli beef. It was good. Yeah, it's funny because it's like one thing leads to another thing. Like one thought leads to like another. So I've also been in that kind of create. Speaking of like creative and you, like that even bleeds into like, what are you doing for dinner? What are you doing for this and that? It's so funny, and that's just like another aspect. But it's still something that needs to be like lived and tended to, or else it's just the same. It's almost like life forces you to be creative. You know what I'm saying? Or else you're just like eating the same old boring stuff. That's another part of this lifestyle that I'm appreciative of is that like I have this time to like try to like experiment and learn how to cook. You know? Yeah. Speaking of Asian or Filipino, I started talking to this. I think she's like Filipino. This girl on Facebook. She's around my age. And we're just talking. And Facebook has like a dating thing, like a dating app thing portion. So we started talking, just like kind of hitting it off, and then we were talking a lot about like astrology and zodiac. So it's a fun new friend for now to talk. Huh? She's into like she started getting into like reading about astrology. So she was like reading her own birth chart, and I was like surprising myself with like the knowledge that I knew of astrology, and I remembered a lot. She wanted to like know what my birthday was, so she could pull up my birth chart, and I was like surprising myself with a lot of what I remembered about my birth chart, and so it was, well, it sounds very weird, but it was came through in some of the tarot readings that I've been doing on TikTok, where the king of well, because it's like a prediction, it's like a prophecy, where I had been doing readings that was saying thematically the Queen of Pentacles was going to come through, and also this recruiter I think was coming through in the readings, but I didn't realize it until hindsight when I went back and watched it. Like, oh, that's what these were coming through. Because I was doing readings and a lot of pairs were coming out. I was using this double deck of playing cards because you can use regular deck of playing cards as a tarot. So I was using, actually, I think these were ones that you bought me. You bought me like this pack that came with like dice and this bicycle card set. They came in this nice leather case that you got me. So I opened those. And I've been using this for a while now, but I'm just saying that those are the cards that I'm using. Funny enough, but so I mixed the two decks together, and when you do that, you get like double the action, double the fun, like double the synchronicities and concurrencies. So what happens is the King of Wands kept on coming out thematically, and the Queen of Wands, and that's a matching pair. But in hindsight, what I'm realizing is I think that that was in reference to me meeting this one recruiter lady. Because remember, for the longest time this year, I've been predicting that both love and money are going to come in the same season. And funny enough, Venus is in Libra, and Venus is about love and money, and Libra is about balance, the scales of justice, kind of getting your due, your positive karma coming back around. So, in a weird way, it turns out that another pair that's been coming through a lot thematically, it happens in themes. You know, the cards are very good about repeating themselves and driving home and that's why earlier today I was telling you the theme for today was embody the King of Pentacles. It's going to be full circle. I'm going to tell you right now. So the Queen of Pentacles has been coming through thematically with these TikTok readings, and what the Queen of Pentacle represents is Sagittarius or Capricorn. It could be the season or the person's zodiac, and we're ironically or coincidentally we're in Sagittarius season. Winter to early January is Sagittarius Capricorn season, and turns out this girl that I'm talking to, she is Queen of Pentacles energy, which is Sagittarius or Capricorn. She's Capricorn. So to me, I was like, oh my God, this is really weird. I've been doing readings that have said that, um, you know, this Queen of Pentacles coming in. And so the readings have been saying like, there's this big union coming through. So it might be that, you know, it might be I predicted that, and that's a prophecy that's coming through. And what's ironic is that the King of Pentacles, things as far as like relationships and whatever, they usually come in pairs. That's how you know it's a good pair. You know, when someone calls me for a relationship reading, if I see a pair, that's usually a good sign that they're with the right person. So meaning like king with the queen with the same suit. So ironically or coincidentally, my sign is Aries, and that is the sign of the King of Pentacles. The King of Pentacles in the tarot is Taurus or Aries energy. So roundabout way of saying that that's a pair. King of Pentacles plus the Queen of Pentacles. On the Aries, she's a Capricorn. So all yesterday we talked for like an hour. We were messaging each other back and forth, and we were just, you know, comparing and contrasting birth charts. And she was like, you know, the whole thing of like, oh, my moon is in your fifth house, and you know, my moon is in Scorpio, and da 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 da. And I guess whatever website you use, they pair the birth charts back to back, so it shows what planets are in my houses and what my planets and signs are in her zodiac houses. They tell you it's a good match. So we're yeah, she knew, and she was surprised. So who knows? I think she's like Filipino. Oh no, I don't think she has kids. No, we'll see. I mean, I think I don't. You know me. There's always something. There's always like a connection or a thing. But not everyone pans out. But I just think it's interesting when you see these like concurrences or synchronicities come through. And I just saw that that big one when it came to like I said, in hindsight, I was like, oh shit, I think that this is what I was saying without knowing it. Because another reading was, and it came in both, it came in bunches in the read through the readings, and one of them was what I was thinking of, what I was talking about, the romance relationship aspect was really, I think, in hindsight, the career aspect. And one of the messages that came through was like, don't take the bait, don't take the false offer. And in hindsight, and going back and watching that video that I did a couple days ago on TikTok, I think what I was really, without knowing, referring to was the offer from El Segundo, from the recruiter. Yeah, yeah. Because remember the recruit. I think I was picking up the recruiter energy from the King of Wands, Queen of Wands. There's the matching pair of the Wands suit, and then there's the matching pair of the Pentacles suit. And from the best that I could kind of understand, the Pentacles is the romantic, and then the Wands is the recruiter relationship. Because it's a matching pair. It's like me and the recruiter, we're a matching pair, but it's not romantic, it's business. You know? So, and in that aspect, I'm coming through as the Queen of Wands, because the Queen of Wands is Pisces or Aries energy. So I wouldn't be surprised if she was Cancer or Leo energy. So I don't know. It's weird. I take it all with a grain of salt. I mean, I do. It's like I'm in the business of making these connections. So I'm learning to not, you know, say that everything is, gospel. But I just think it's interesting that, yeah, yeah. So what are you making? I think hmm, the picadillo is the beef and the potato. Yeah, I think I might try your rice next time because I have the recipe. Um, yeah, yeah. Mom, what did I tell you? Water on the floor metaphor. Did I not tell you that? You thought I was crazy, but I told you. Did I not tell you all that? And yeah, but it's just so funny because it's apropos of the point that I'm talking about now. These things come in like themes, like thematically, they come in these waves. And I told you, I was like, excuse me. Yeah, sorry. I was telling you, like, water under the sink, plumbing problems, and then the bathtub, and then I spilled this big old thing of water, and then all the metaphor of like letting go, forgiveness, healing, the water metaphor. I really do think that the symbols in like things like the tarot, if we know what they are, they come through in our real lives. And that was another breakthrough that I had this morning where it's like, oh, the values of like the King of Pentacles, the Queen of Wands, or they're not just like values on paper. They represent spirits that you embody or tune into. And like, think about that. That's some heavy shit. You know what I'm saying? Because then now you're tuning into the energy of the moment, and then now the cards are saying, I want you to embody this. You know what I'm saying? This is going to get you to that through that season. I think that's what's going on. I mean, call me crazy, but I think that that's like, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, I mean, I just feel like the proof is in the pudding of like the whole water on the ground thing. It's funny because when I told you that, you had no idea. You were like, okay, whatever, random like. Well, I think it means like healing, forgiveness, and Yeah. Yeah. They usually say that that refers to like when you're like disgusted with yourself or like mm, not proud of like how things have panned out or played out, things like that, or like self blame or something like that. Because they say that everything that you see in your dream is a reflection of you, like even like other characters or other people. Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. I think something's gonna manifest a new opportunity or something like that. Yeah. Telling you, embody. Can I pull a card for you and see if there's something that you could? I just want to see. I want to try to like prove that theme and see if I could like pull a card that says that like something that you could like embody or tune into and see if that might like. Because again, if we're like gamifying life, then that means that at this level, there's something that we should be tuning into or doing that could help advance us or progress us to. Let me see what that could be. Oh wow, you have the Queen of Swords here. So this is that like when we're talking about the left-sided mindset where it's like logic, reason, all about like your P's and Q's and math and numbers and all that stuff. So I wonder if that's not like what you're coming. Oh wow. So what came out is the Queen of Wands now. So she's seeing eye to eye. The Queen of Swords is looking at the Queen of Wands. So to me, that could be read a couple different ways. I mean, either that's picking up on our call right now because I'm Queen of Wands energy, I think, or that could also be talking to moving from the analytical to the kind of taking action. Where it's like it's saying like you're best served when you're like moving and in action and stuff like that, which is what you're doing now. I mean, you're moving around, cooking and stuff. But I think what it's saying is that a good way for you to flip that switch from the worry and the concern and whatever is when you get active and functional in the moment, when you embody the Queen of Wands, because the Wands is about action, you know, and the Swords is about thinking. It's about the hypothetical. So for the Queen of Swords to be facing off the Queen of Wands, to me says that that's like that kind of good way for you to like flip that switch if there's too much worry or concern, then that means that you're too much in the thinking hypothetical and you need to be in the moment taking action and activeness. You know what I'm saying? And then also what also came out for you is the Four Swords. So when you kind of exert yourself physically, then that allows you to then get good rest because the Four Swords is about rest and recovery and sleeping good at night. So it's almost saying like you have all this energy that you need to burn off physically somehow, some way, or maybe even mentally, and then that way that'll help get better rest, and getting better rest will then put you in a better position to kind of move through it. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, but you also got the Ten of Pentacles, and that's like the best card for like. No, I'll tell you. Oh, hold on, wait. Let me put you on. Let's send you a quick picture of what I'm looking at. Let's see if I can even fit all this stuff here. Okay, I'm gonna readjust it so I can try to fit it all in one camera. One second. Okay, so let me know when you can see or whatever, but when you ever have time to look at it. But basically, the Queen of Swords is the top left, and it's kind of cool because you get to see how I use playing cards to do the tarot. But the Queen of Swords is top left. The spades represent swords, and the swords represent thinking and the mind and logic and reason. And so she's like the businesswoman. You know, she leads by like mathematician type energies. You know, science and math and all that stuff. But on the negative end, it could be like too much. You know, and so then she's facing off with the Queen of Wands, and the wands represent taking action, getting up and taking action. So to me, it just says like you know that's a good way for you to balance out those energies. If you're like in too much of the worry mode, then that means you need to get grounded in action in your body, do something, you know, which is easy enough, simple enough. I think you have like a good track record of doing all that stuff, you know. Yeah, yeah. And that's what the four swords here now is. Under the Queen of Swords is the four spades, that's swords, and that represents rest and recovery and rejuvenation. In the tarot, it's depicted as a soldier laying on his coffin in 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 the church, because in the old days when they would return from battle, they would lay on their coffin as like a kind of like thanking their lucky stars that they're still alive. Yeah, it's like I think it was like a weird ritual that they did, but it represents like rest, recovery, things like that. And then the Joker in the reverse, I'm kind of reading as like the Hanged Man, meaning it feels like you're hamstrung or hanging around, waiting around. Um, and but that is a good time to see things differently, see things in the realm of like what can I do in the immediate moment, what could I take action with, let me tune into the energy, the creative intuitive force, as opposed to focusing on what I don't have, which is what the Queen of Swords can tend to do. Because remember, if she's the one that's looking at the bank account and seeing that there's not enough in the bank account, well, then she's just kind of this. The Hanged Man in the tarot is the image of the guy hanging from the tree. He's tethered by the ankle, and so I read this Joker in the reverse as that. But the thing is that there's a halo around his head in the tarot, meaning that's the moment of enlightenment to see his situation differently. because the caveat of being hung upside down is you get to see your world differently. And that's the representation of kind of what we've been talking about, left hemisphere of the brain versus the right hemisphere. So when you see your world as what could I take part of, action in the moment, Queen of Wands, then you're empowered because you're really left with, only that which you could do anyways, as opposed to just worrying yourself to death or whatever. And then just to wrap up the remaining energies here, the Seven of Pentacles in the reverse is um, traditionally depicted as like a farmer. When it's in the upright, it's a farmer overseeing his crop, and it's a long, enduring energy, yeah, because it takes a lot of time. But in the reverse, it feels as though something's not coming in or growing through. Um, and so it just feels like, lack or scarcity, nothing is growing or developing. And then you have the Six of Cups in the reverse, and that could be, you know, feelings of nostalgia or the past, or maybe like you're not connected to your kids, or, feeling, because in the upright, it's about innocent energy, nostalgia, good times, family, children. But in the reverse, it could be the devoid of that or something like that. Or like the good times are in the past or something like that. But then you have this Ten of Pentacle, and the Ten of Pentacle is like it's where those good times happen. It's the legacy. It makes me think of the house. It makes me think of, because in the tarot, the Ten of Pentacles is about cornerstones to build foundations upon, to pass legacy and generational wealth and inheritance and all that good stuff. S- Yeah, yeah. And you know what's funny is that, like, so we're talking about like flip your world upside down. When I take these last four cards and I flip them upside down, guess what you get? You get everything in the upright, because the Six of Cup, the hearts are facing one direction, right? That's how I know if it's up or down. So how they came out with the hearts pointing down. But remember, the Joker's head is facing down. So it's kind of like a turn that frown upside down moment and change your perspective. So when I do that and I turn it upside down, well, guess what? Now the Joker's standing on top of the world, meaning now that person is at a high point, because now he's kind of like doling out all the deck of cards, which is like he's doling out all the happiness, he's doling out all the joy and all that stuff. And so that's you. That's your where you're empowered. You know what I'm saying? So it's almost saying like use your antenna to tune into that, the legacy, the family, the Christmas. Not worry about the bills and stuff as maybe as easy or hard as you might think that, but just to continue to drive home the point. So now the six and the seven, I just physically manually turned it right side up. So now you get the nostalgia good times of the Six of Hearts in the upright. Now you get the growth and the longevity of the Seven of Pentacles in the upright. And guess what? Since the Ten of Pentacles is an even number, it can't be up or down. And that's one of the interesting things about certain cards in the playing deck. So either way you turn it, it's like either way you're in a win-win position. But the only caveat is what brain are you using to look? And that's just such a driving home point of what we've been saying thematically, of like, you know, it's just a matter of perspective. You know, I'm gonna take a picture of this and send it to you.
When you think about how it was, when I was talking earlier, with that lump, part of me was thinking about what was going to happen and how joyful, how nice people have been responding to my e-bikes, telling me how they were looking forward to it and how what a great tradition and they can't wait to get our cookies. And actually thinking about that, I didn't want to say it earlier because it sounded so arrogant, but it was actually making me come out of my funk.
Yeah. I just sent you the picture of that where it's like I turned it right side up.
Okay.
It's very fascinating how that.
Yeah.
It's just funny. It's just so like simple, but like there too, to where you can manually turn it. Yeah, and that's so. You know, it was there all along. Yeah, and it's like it's and yeah, it's just very interesting. Well, I was thinking about the whole cube metaphor, and it makes me think of like it really is true because in higher dimensional science, there's something called a hypercube. And when you start to talk about the hypercube, we're talking about dimensions that are neither inside or out. And this is kind of like a near through thought that I'm having now as I'm saying it, but it's like connecting the dots. So what is neither like inside or out technically is what we've been talking about, the quantum field, the realm of thought and almost emotion or states of being. And so it's almost as if like we have this evil powers that be metaphor. If their symbol is the cube, the three-dimensional man-made corners and trapped, then the humanitarian or the spiritualists symbol or weapon is the hypercube, which is the kind of the higher dimensionality, which is the quantum realm, which is the thought realm, the emotional, those states of gratitude and stuff. And that's and perspective, the hangman. You know what I'm saying? And it's like and that's how you escape that matrix, the cube, the that's how you escape that realm that they're trying to kind of beholden us to, which is the realm of not enough time, not enough money. You know what I'm saying? And what traps us in like misery or whatever. But then when you figure out and realize, no, I have this kind of like, um, like this quantum kind of, perspective way of looking at it. And then you see real value. And then it's like, I am really that thing that I'm embodying, which is a person of great wealth and value because your priorities and your values are straight. You know, you have the value and the priority of family and time together, and it's like you can't put a number on that. You're really like a millionaire. You know. Wait, what did you say? Can you imagine? Can you imagine? No, I'm just being silly because it's like I'm thinking. The funny side of me is thinking like try to write that on a check and mail it to the electric company. Yeah, yeah, Yeah. 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 Right. Telling you, it's a matrix. Sure. Well, it's like reminding someone of like the, like to use the metaphor of like, okay, I'm just looking at the box. Like, I don't see the magic in it, like it's like reminding each other, or if it's through, YouTube videos where I come across like teachers or whatever. But it's like, it is really truly reminding of that extra dimension of what we don't see, but is the realm that we have access to through our thinking and our feeling and our perspective. And it's like, even just having this conversation with you, it's like, realizing like, oh, that's how you escape the cube of like, you know, if you do believe there are like evildoers or powers that be, that's how you escape the matrix cube that they have us in this hamster cage. You escape it through the like the perspective and the energy and the good states of being and the mind and seeing what real value and abundance is, and seeing that you are the universal gemstone that can't have a price put on it. And it's like, fuck, that's a new level. And then also, I think it's also like, to tie back to when I was saying, when I was watching the wrestling and I saw the British commercials, and that made me feel those good feelings of like, having a steady job and being able to have a family. It's like, you don't have to throw that away. You don't have to throw those good parts of the system away. Like, I still believe that there are wholehearted, good natured parts of that system. Like, if it's like, I've been watching like football, like there are good parts of like the mainstream system. You know what I'm saying? Where like people come together and they celebrate things, or if it's the holidays, or if it's having nice things, creature comforts, luxuries. Like I'm not preaching throwing away those good like Disney aspects of it, so to speak. I'm just saying that there's this merger that we could have the best of both worlds. And I think that what happens is that the mainstream, oftentimes through news and media and war, they try to give you this, but then they kind of underhandedly try to get you to believe in all this other negative shit, whether it's like war or cancer, disease, COVID, fear. So it's like they try to bake in the net. And what I'm saying is like you could pluck out those you could pluck out those like chocolate chips. You know, you could have your chocolate chipless cookies, so to speak. And the way that you do that is through the spiritual, you know what I'm saying? So that you can have your cake and eat it too. You know? Isn't that crazy? But it's fucking true, isn't it? It's crazy but true. Wow. Well, I have this on the. I'm live streaming this YouTube conversation, so I did get a good part of this. Yeah, I turned on the because I ended the video, but then I returned it on, so I just recorded like the last hour and a half of this conversation. Well, you just said that Martin was gay in his family. No, I'm fine. No, I didn't. I didn't have you on speakerphone. But mom, what if this is our podcast? What if, what if this? What if like we do this again, but I put you on speakerphone next time? That'd be interesting. Yeah, but hey, that might be an example of lateral thinking, right? You're always saying podcasts, and then we're always saying our conversations should be podcasts. So what if you're a what? But what did you? Well, you said aha person. Oh, okay. Yeah. Wow. Lateral thinking. Wait, let me take a look. 1 second.
I'm about to cut up.
Yum, that looks good.
I'm about to cut up my what's the word? My lettuce and tomato now.
Nice.
It's so simple, my beef. The beef is just like I just brown it in oil, a little bit of olive oil, put garlic and onion in it, salt and cumin,
Yeah.
and that's it. And then I cut up potatoes, and then I just towards the end.
Yeah. I saw a video of like where somebody was kind of just simplistically breaking down like just so because like people could get overwhelmed when they think about trying to cook different ethnic food types. But if you just think of it as like each denomination is basically just represented by a handful of spices, you know. So like for the Thai or the Chinese stuff, like really that handful of spices is just like oyster sauce, soy sauce, ginger, sriracha sauce. Like there's just a handful of flavors, and then you just mix and match with whatever. It's just a matter of finding what are the right combinations. You know? So, but yeah, I think I'll get there at some point with the recipe book. I've made the rice before. I remember a while, like so long ago when I was in college. Yeah, I was really pleasantly surprised at how like because I did like one round of it where I was experimenting, and then I had leftover resources. I could make another thing of pad thai, and I was just playing around with like the flavors and my food things differently, cooking things separately. It was good. Yeah, it was better the second time around because I like figured out how to like mix everything and whatever, time everything. Yeah. Yep. All right, mom. Love you. I think we had a good podcast slash phone call, and that's if any more. All right, let me go and enjoy your dinner. Bye bye.